Imagine betting everything on a risky move, only to watch it backfire spectacularly. That's exactly what Donald Trump did when he gambled on tariffs to pressure Mexico and Canada. But instead of winning big, he found himself facing backlash from all sides: business leaders, lawmakers, and even his own allies. Could this be the beginning of the end for his economic strategy? In this video, we'll break down how Trump's high-stakes tariff threats backfired, shaking investor confidence, triggering market instability, and even putting his own credibility at risk. We'll explore why history has shown that protectionism often does more harm than good, and how Trump's aggressive tactics might have handed the advantage to global competitors like China and the European Union. But this isn't just about Trump. Mexico and Canada are now forced to rethink their economic strategies, while businesses in the U.S. scramble to adjust. Is this a temporary setback, or is Trump's economic playbook doomed to fail? Stay with us as we dive deep into the consequences of this bold but flawed move. Donald Trump wanted to play poker with the economy and ended up losing. In the first round, he bet that his tariff threats would bend Mexico and Canada, but they reacted. Business leaders protested, and even his own allies raised their voices in opposition. Like a broken record, Trump once again dusted off his protectionist policy, ignoring the lessons of the past. He believed that fear would make his trade partners give in, but all he achieved was a forced pause and a plummeting credibility. Is this the beginning of the end for his strategy? Donald Trump played his first hand at the trade policy table with the same strategy as always, threatening tariffs to subdue his partners. But this time it didn't work. His attempt to pressure Mexico and Canada with a 25% increase on imports ended in a forced pause, leaving his credibility damaged. The cost of the tariff increase was not borne by the country's southern and northern neighbors, but by the United States itself. His attempt to play rough with trade partners created instability, weakened investor confidence, and caused turmoil on Wall Street. The result? A wave of criticism from all fronts, including business leaders, legislators, and economic policy experts. The economy does not respond well to whims, and the markets were the first to remind him of that. History is no stranger to this type of mistake. In 1930, when the U.S. Congress passed the Smoot-Hawley Act, significantly raising tariffs, the result was a recession that escalated into the Great Depression. At the time, more than 1,000 intellectuals and economists warned about the dangers of that policy, but they were not heard. History repeated itself. Trump, with his belligerent rhetoric, revived the same protectionist strategy from his first presidency. However, his tariff threat encountered a wall of resistance. A total of 1,028 intellectuals, including Nobel laureates, business leaders, and politicians, warned about the economic and diplomatic consequences of this measure. The response was clear: protectionism is not the solution, it is the problem. Economist Lawrence Summers wasted no time in calling Trump's move inexplicable. In his view, rather than strengthening the United States, a trade war would severely damage the country's competitiveness and isolate its economy in an increasingly interconnected world. To make matters worse, it would open the door for other global players, such as China and the European Union, to fill the void left by the U.S. The markets reacted swiftly. Stock exchanges suffered significant declines, and investors began pulling back in fear of a new crisis. Inflation, already a problem for Trump's administration, could have spiraled further out of control with the rising costs of imported goods. Given this scenario, internal opposition to the tariff plan became evident. The interesting part is that despite his image as an unyielding politician, Trump was forced to retreat. The pressure was so intense that he had to announce a 30-day pause on the implementation of tariffs, with the possibility of extending it for 6 more months. In other words, his threat lost strength and was reduced to a mere bluff. His credibility on economic matters is now in question. The markets, business leaders, and even legislators from his own party have learned that his threats can sometimes be just noise without real consequences. The strategy of maximum pressure has proven ineffective when it clashes with the interests of his own country. However, this is not the end of the story. Trump still has other tools to exert pressure, one of them being his incendiary rhetoric. His accusation that Mexico is overrun by criminal gangs is not just an outburst, but a strategy to justify more aggressive future actions. Mexican authorities cannot afford to ignore these accusations. Beyond Trump's rhetoric, insecurity, and violence in Mexico are real problems that affect both the economy and relations with the U.S. That is why Claudia Sheinbaum's administration has taken responsibility for implementing concrete measures and demonstrating that it is addressing the issue with composure. Given the possibility that Trump might follow through on his threats in the future, Mexico cannot remain idle. It is time to strengthen the domestic market, reduce reliance on exports, and prepare a contingency plan to face any scenario. The government must work alongside the business sector to boost national production and encourage the consumption of Mexican-made products. The trade agreement between Mexico, the United States, and Canada has been a key tool for regional economic integration, but depending exclusively on it could be a mistake. Mexico must diversify its markets, strengthen its national industry, and reduce its vulnerability to the decisions of a single country. Geopolitics should not be a straitjacket. Mexico must leverage its strategic location to strengthen its economy without depending on Washington's whims. The lesson is clear. The best defense against protectionism is a strong and independent economy. Beyond trade threats, other pressing issues exist in the bilateral relationship. The migration crisis, arms trafficking, and border insecurity are problems affecting both Mexico and the United States. Cooperation between the two countries is crucial in finding real solutions. Trump, however, seems more interested in finding scapegoats than in seeking solutions. His inflammatory speeches on migration and organized crime do not help solve the problem. They merely fuel tension. Instead of promoting agreements, he chooses confrontation, putting regional stability at risk. Despite everything, Mexico has opportunities in this scenario. If it plays its cards right, it can turn threats into an opportunity to strengthen its economy and global standing. The key lies in reducing dependence on the U.S. and consolidating alliances with other strategic partners. Trump may continue with his incendiary rhetoric, but the reality is that the world has changed. Global trade is no longer dictated by threats or unilateral impositions. Countries that embrace protectionism end up paying the price of isolation. American companies know this. Many of them rely on supply chains in Mexico and Canada to stay competitive. Imposing tariffs would directly harm consumers and producers in the U.S. The future of Mexico-U.S. relations will depend on how these conflicts are managed in the coming months. If Mexico succeeds in strengthening its economy and diversifying its trade relationships, it will be able to withstand any challenge without being at the mercy of Washington's decisions. Trump bet big on tariffs and lost the hand. His pressure strategy hit a wall and ended in an indefinite pause. The choice for Mexico is clear. It is not about waiting to see what the neighbor does, but about taking the initiative and preparing for any scenario. Pragmatism will ultimately prevail. Trump may keep playing poker with tariffs, but he has already lost this round. His threats no longer instill the same fear or provoke the same reactions as before. The economy has its own rules, and it does not bend to the whims of a single player. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into global economics and political strategies. What do you think? Was this a brilliant negotiation tactic or a massive miscalculation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to understand more about how economic policies shape our world, check out our next video right here. See you there,